Beautiful sunny mid-October day here in Tennessee. We recently had the remnants of Hurricane Helene come through and really tear up a bunch of people. Got a lot of people in some really bad situations. A lot of flooding, roads out. Hadn't had school in the county here for over 2 weeks, so not going to have it for another 2 weeks, looks like. But this is Missy's heat pump. You've seen it in other videos. Almost 9 years ago, I put a wheel on the inducer motor for the combustion ventilation, and I put a compressor in it because it went bad. Right, it was a used compressor, just took out of a junk unit and stuck in it. Knew it was going to need to be replaced sooner or later, so she called the other day and said that she didn't have any heat, so I come by and checked, and when it tried to come on, there was no inducer blower. At least there was no wire moving, so I'm going to take a look at it and see what's wrong with it, but I think it's probably finally time to replace it. I didn't film it because I was turning it on with the app, but the inducer motor was stuck. I smacked it a couple of times when it called for it to come on, and the darn thing started working. We're still going to replace it though. The inducer is making a little squealing noise occasionally, so I'd save the bearings. There you go. If I hadn't have been talking, you'd have heard it probably. Maybe the camera got it. It's basically the motor's wore out. You fellers told me that I should have replaced that motor when I replaced that wheel, because he said the bearings would probably go out in it where it ran out of balance so long. Of course, again, that was 9 years ago, so I guess it did pretty good. Again, this was a customer's unit. I wouldn't have done all these repairs to it because, you don't want to put your name on something that might tear up as soon as you leave the driveway. But if it's a friend, you can, save them a little money and come back and fix it when it doesn't work. So I'm gonna go ahead and let it warm the house up since we got it running here, and then I've got a new unit at the shop ready to go. I just need to get this duct cover off and see what kind of transitions I need to make to get from the unit to the house duct. I know it's got rigid duct on the supply, but the return is definitely flex. I just don't know if the supply duct comes all the way out here, if they've got a short piece of flex on it. As soon as I figure that out, I can make sure I have everything. It sounds rough. I can make sure I have everything and get it swapped out for her. Well, definitely got flex pieces from the unit under the house, two under the house. They've made some kind of I'm not even sure what kind of transition this is. Is it just a short piece of rectangle duct? But they've somehow taped the flex around. I mean, it's not a squared around. It's more like a rectangle to make the duct fit on it. So we'll definitely have to do something with all that. This thing will cut off every now and then, and I'll hear the igniter going. I don't know if the flame sensor is dirty, if something else is going on. It's got pretty good airflow right now. Here's the igniter. I think it thinks it's went out. Probably need to clean the flame sensor, but again, it's getting ready to go away. Well, I think I got all the info I need. I just stuck that duct cover back on to get it out of the yard. I checked the flame sensor, it was clean. I noticed it would run until I put the door on, and then it would start, short cycling and kicking off. Well, I just reached back in there. See if we can just about it fogging up. See the little baffle back in there? I took a nut driver and pushed it back to make the hole open a little more, and it started staying on. I think the fan is just so weak, the motor's probably not running full RPM, that it wasn't able to move enough air. Of course, the baffle's in there to keep the heat in the exchanger longer so that you're more efficient. So I kind of killed the efficiency of it, but at least it's heating. I applied for a permit today for this thing, so I should have it tomorrow. And we'll start tearing this one out and putting a new one in. If nothing else, we'll do it this weekend. Okay, this is what we're going to go back with. It's a gas pack again. It is a Coleman, of course, Johnson Controls. Should be the exact same model number as a York. And what I usually try to do before I take them out, when I've got this forklift to pick them up, is these things are convertible for downflow. And these panels are kind of just pressed in there, you know, blanks. And lots of times it tells you on somewhere here to make sure and pull your forks all the way through so that you don't push on them, but typically the distributor don't care about that, and you can see how they've kind of got into that one there, so it can cause a leak there. So what I usually do on all of them, whether they've been forked or not, is take some mastic tape and tape the outside, and then I'll actually go on the inside and use some I guess they call it scrim tape. It looks just like this, got the strings in it. And while it's nice and clean and dry like this, it'll stick, you know. You won't get it back apart unless it just tears the tape or the, you know, paper off the insulation. So it's a good time to go ahead and do that as well. So basically, just do something like that. Squeegee it down good. And then we'll come over here and do the one that's been forkered. So that's really all we have to do here at the shop, but since it's not really warm out there right yet, we might as well go ahead and do everything we can. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and take these little shipping corners off. That's so they can stack them up without denting it, I guess. So we'll get all them off, and then we need to tape up the inside and do something about all these little holes around the perimeter. And the reason I'll tape in here is that you'll never get this chance again when it's this clean, even though it is a little bit dusty. I'll wipe it out. But see how this insulation's showing? That just gets nastier as the years go by. And if you can tape it up now, get the tape sticking to itself over here, it just looks better for longer. Okay, so I taped that up, and I went ahead and did these edges too. Again, this kind of tape, I don't have any qualms about, you know, putting it on a good clean surface, because it ain't coming off. You can tell the difference. You can see the jake or the edge of the insulation there versus no insulation showing here. So I just think it'll, you know, long term will be a little better. Well, we got both sides all, you know, got the shiny stuff instead of the fuzzy stuff. Taking off all these stickers, and of course the yellow ones, they never come off good, at least on some products. So I've got this urethane adhesive cleaner. One of my buddies worked for a glass company, and they used to use it to get paint or an adhesive off of car paint. So we're gonna give it a try. It takes the glue off good. The paper is a little harder, but if you get it softened up, take something, your fingernail or your little squeegee, knock it right off of there. So we'll get all this cleaned up, and then I'll show you what to do with these holes. Okay, here's the cheap and hard way. Take you some of your scrap metal. It's best if you bend a couple little edges on it, because it's usually 26 or 24 gauge, and it'll get a little floppy. But you can put it on the inside, that way you don't have these sharp edges outside where somebody might get themselves cut. Drive you in a screw in both of these holes, and it looks nice, but you got to do this 8 times, plus all these little round holes. You got to do the same thing for them. I usually do it this way, except I don't know if you can see this part number. Traffic's been terrible here. We got 2 bridges through town, and the 4-lane bridge is now closed since the flooding from Hurricane Helene. So now everybody's going through downtown and across the single 2-lane bridge, and it's terrible. But anyway, there's your part number. you get these covers. Here's the ones for the little hose. They give you screws. Here's the one for the big hose. You're talking 50 or 60 bucks, but it's quick and easy, and at my age, I've got more money than I've got time. Okay, so now we got it on there. Normally, I could go ahead and put these squared rounds on. You can see I've got 16-inch and 14-inch. I'm not sure exactly, in her case, what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna be changing some of that ductwork, so I'm not gonna do it yet. I'm just gonna take everything with me and do it at the house after I take the old unit out and crawl up under there and see what we've got to work with. Now that we're through with the forklift, we can go ahead and put the rest of our cover plates on, and we'll be done with that little job, and we can head on to the backyard. Right over here to our right is the old covered bridge. The water was right up underneath it, and it survived. So again, all the park over here was flooded. This is the old bus garage where Missy used to work. Fortunately, they moved it to a little bit higher ground because the garage itself ain't much holding it up anymore. Where we didn't have flooding, we had a lot of devastation from the winds, especially on top of the ridges. Okay, we've made it over here. Usually I'd unhook the thermostat wire and the electrical wires and everything from the inside, but as you can tell, I've pulled the disconnect already. This thermostat wire is a mess, so it's going to have to be replaced anyway. And of course the electrical is the same way. That's Romex. Of course this sun-dried cable or Carflex, liquid tight, I don't know. It's all going to be replaced. So I'll just cut it loose, and I'll have to get a couple of pipe wrenches to get that loose. Might just have to build a new, that's the only thing on this house that's gas, is this outdoor unit. So we can probably replace every bit of that if we want to. It looks pretty bad. Rather than cut it, I just wanted to see what it looked like from the inside. So I took it loose, and I don't even know what to say. I guess that's one way to do it. Just a tape transition. This one was done the same way. Whole lot of tape. So now that we've got the old one loose, we can get it out of the way. What I'll do a lot of times is just roll them up on their side. That way you can get the new one in and then try to get this one back on your trailer. So we're going to take up the old pad. The new unit's bigger. We're going to put down one of these big plastic pads, but as soon as we get this cleaned up, I'm going to go under the house through this hole and see if there's what kind of ductwork we have, if we got tape transitions under there as well. I'm up under here trying to comprehend what's going on this duct. We got, looks like just a rectangle. I can't tell rip, maybe 8 by 20, but they've kind of butchered it up and made it fit into the end of a flex duct. So I'm going to tire this out and see if I can cut this back and maybe make some kind of This is me in the hole here. Make some kind of a transition to do a little better job or something, but I need to get this off of here first and see what's going on. Well, that's just lovely. I just pulled the flex duct off of it. That's a masterpiece. Yeah, we gotta do something different on that. The more tape I take off, the better it looks. Look at all those screws and little pieces of metal. Goodness gracious. Duct looks good on the inside. Got a joint right back there. I don't know. This piece is pretty butchered. I'd have to cut it in place and try to straighten it up to adapt to it. Might be better off going back to that next piece. Well, here's what it looks like when you get it all unraveled. Looks like shark's teeth right there. So it is 8" by 22" currently. I don't know. I don't think I got any 8 by 22 at the shop. Of course, I could make a piece that would just transition from this to round, or we could possibly run hard duct all the way out on the supply and hook to the new unit. Yeah, we need to back up and punt on this thing and do something a little different. Okay, so I crawled up under here and got this piece tucked loose. It was just put together with the, drive, and had a bunch of screws in it too. So I just bent the drive on the piece I'm taking off. This drive should still be in pretty good shape. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to go back outside, drag this piece out, and I'm going to measure from out there into the end of this good duct. And I'll go to the shop and see if I've got any 8 by 22. I don't think I do. It's the weekend, so I'm not going to be able to buy any. But if I've got enough metal, I could make some. So I'll get this piece out of here and head to the shop and see if I've got anything to work with. Okay, we got I got that piece of duct on the truck to take. I think what I'm going to do is go ahead and slide this new unit off right here in front of the pad, kind of over here in the grass. I'll pull forward, go ahead and load this old stuff up and get rid of the trash. And I can get rid of the trailer too when I go back to the shop. And we'll see what we can make up today. She might have to find her a place to stay tonight. Okay, back at the shop here, and of course I didn't have any ducts, so I did have a 4 by 10 sheet of metal. So what I've done here is cut me out a blank. I'm going to make it 40 inches long instead of the 48. I took 8 inches off simply because I only have a 4-foot break, and then that way I can do my cross breaks in that break. And then I'll need 64 inches so I can get 24 inches out of this old duct, no problem. So I'll just have to make the one piece. I'll make 2 pieces just like this, which will make 1 duct. So I've got it notched out. There's my 1/4 inch turn, my 8 inches, that's 8 1/4, my 22 inches, and then where you can see that scribe line, that's how much the Pittsburgh machine's going to use when it makes me a seam there. So we'll end up with hopefully a 22 by 8 inch piece of duct. I'll get started bending on it. Okay, there's half of it. We'll make one just like it. Only thing we'll have to do to it, other than beat it together, is bend the drive U shapes on this, but that'll be no problem. And then we'll modify that one to get us the rest of the way out from under the house. And then we'll start trying to figure out what to do about that transition. Okay, we've got some S-lock on it here, and we need to bend these little ends for the drive. So just put your little tool up on there, force it over, and it helps if you got some benders to finish it off. Sometimes you even have to finish it off after you do this. That's pretty good. So we can now attach these two pieces together and see where we are. In case you couldn't appreciate the beauty of this duct under the house, sir, this is what it looked like. Goodness gracious. I'm going to cut it off right here and bend new ends on it. Okay, with our straight 8x22 duct run together, that'll bring us just outside the foundation wall. And then what we're going to try to do is transition from the 8x22 up to a 16x10 on the unit. So it just happens to line up on the one edge and the bottom, which was lucky for me because I can just use straight dimensions. This is 8, that's 16. This is 10, this is 22, but all these other pieces are going to be, this line's going to be measured off of this, and the top of it is going to be like this and like this. So the next two pieces are going to be a little hard. I'm not filming any of this because I don't even know what I'm doing. No point in trying to show you, but I'll hopefully show you the finished product here in a minute. Okay, I hope that'll work. It looks about right. This is our 10x16 that goes over the outlet of the unit, the supply side of the unit, and then it transitions us down to a 8x22. That's actually a piece of the old duct we took off and trimmed that garbage off, and then we made a new piece to get us the right length. So this should get us right outside of the foundation. This should pop us up over to the unit. This distance here will get a duct cover and also give you a little room between the house and the condenser coil on the back of the unit. So I think we'll take this over and put it in and see what it looks like. But it is Saturday and the Vols just started playing football, so I might have to see if I can find a place to put that woman up for the night. She could probably go stay at my house. I bet there's not many, HVAC guys that would do that. Okay, getting ready to insulate the new piece of duct. And, I probably ought to shine that one up a little bit and put it on Facebook Marketplace. Worked when removed, $500. And yeah, we got her taped up good at the joint. And that'll be much easier than trying to do it under the house. So we'll just have to drag that up under there and get that end hooked up, taped up, and get the insulation taped. And then we'll be outside, except for the return. Went ahead and made the wrap for this little piece since it's so weirdly shaped. I'm not going to put it on right now. It'll be a matter of just wrapping it around and stapling it and taping it everywhere, but it'd make it really hard to put it on the unit and also to get this connection made. Okay, back on site. I had that unit slid up against the hole with an old furnace door covering it last night just to keep out the bears. But the original disconnect, you can kind of see it was mounted right up here and had a piece of Carflex that just went down and had someone cut a notch in the duct cover to get it under the house. I'm going to just drill a hole. I'm going to keep the disconnect over this way as far as I can because. So I'm going to drill a hole right there, and it'll come out hopefully come out in the band joist, and I can fish the wire through there and not have that you know, cut place in our duct cover. Makes it look a lot more clean when we do that way. Also, underneath this vinyl siding is that siding that was made out of cancer, so everybody hold your breath. Okay, we got a hole. We got a new disconnect with the knockouts removed, and I made up a little short piece of the liquid tight with a connector on the end just to protect this Romex as it comes through the hole. It's not putting Romex in conduit, even though that's perfectly fine. You just can't put Romex outside. And yes, this is technically outside right here, but they usually allow you to do that. Think of every outdoor light on your entire house. Okay, got everything here. Got the whole pump full of 100% silicone, and we're going to slide this puppy back in there and screw it to the house. Okay, she's mounted. I went ahead and pulled it through far enough to be able to get some new wire. So I'll strip that back and connect it into our line terminals and our ground. And then I'll need to go ahead and get a new thermostat wire ran as well. It also came out through the duct cover. What I may do on it gets a lot of sun most of the time. This was kind of looking to the southwest. So, of course, I cut off the worst part, but even the part that I didn't cut is all solarized and cracked up. And apparently that might have been well, I'd say they roughed it in and didn't put it in enough since it's the same wire on both ends. I don't know. But at any rate, I'm going to run a new wire all the way, but out here, it would probably be best if I put it in some kind of a conduit so it don't get beat up by the sun over the next however many years this unit lasts. 5, 6. So we've got that little chore done. Like I say, once I put that duct in there, the real estate in there is going to be really tight. So I'll go ahead and drag a thermostat wire through. I think I'll just drill through the foundation here, big enough to pull a piece of that 1/2 inch plastic conduit through. And we'll go ahead and get that run too before we put the duct in. Okay, of course I won't know exactly how long that's going to be yet. We'll have plenty of slack. We can push it in and out, but basically we just have it through there. And I've just got this little cordless drill here with a, I don't know, it's probably maybe a 5/8 bit, so it wasn't big enough, but this is an old nipple, gas nipple. You can take it on cinder block at least and make your hole big enough for, you know, 1/2 inch Carflex, no problem. So that's what we did there. We've got that done. Got the row of new thermostat wire, and we need to go ahead before we put this duct in and get rid of that old 14-inch flex going to the return, and I'm going to replace it with 16-inch flex coming back this way. Just crawled up under here from the other direction and pulled this return down. I tell you what, I've been spending way too much money on like takeoffs and stuff. They just cut a round circle in the metal and stuck the duct through and used some duct tape. But I'll probably come down here and I'm going to eventually redo this return box entirely. It's in a little linen closet in the hallway, and it's really not done right. But I'm not going to do that right now because I need to get her some heat on. So what I'll do is just probably just stick a 16-inch collar on here, so we'll have something to attach the new flex duct to, and it'll be heading down that way. Okay, we got the thermostat wire pulled, got the electric done. I've got the old return duct laying out here in the yard somewhere. There we go. But if we put 22 inches of a duct through this hole with insulation on it, it's going to come past this seam in the siding. So that don't leave enough room for your 16-inch round duct to go through. So while I've got this hammer drill out anyway, I'm going to go ahead and try to take out at least another 1/2 block there and see what that looks like. Well, that looks like that'll give us plenty of room. I'm going to do the same thing the other fellas did and take some tin snips and cut that termite shield and just fold it up. It's pretty heavy metal, but I'll get that done, and I'm hoping Missy will be home from church soon and she can you know, help me hold that duct up out here while I hook it up on the inside, the metal duct that I've got to connect to that guy. Okay, some 18 hours later, we're back to where we would have been if we'd have just been replacing the unit and not messing with the ductwork. We've got it stubbed out of the house here, so I stuck my transition on there temporarily and pushed the unit back against it. Got our pad kind of centered up. That works over there. It's got a little bit of a steep angle when it comes off, but it's flexing through that hole anyway. Plus it's 2 inches bigger than it used to be, so I'm going to pull this thing out enough to do my work behind it here, put both these transition fittings on the unit, tape them up good, and then we'll push it back here, attach the flex on that one, attach this one like we've got it there, bend over the drives, tape it up, insulate it, all that good stuff, and we'll have ductwork connected. Okay, getting this nice little connection made here, and you can see we've got her taped up in there, so we're getting our insulation folded back out, taping it up. I'm gonna have to lay back down and finish that bottom because I had to go do that corner before I could tape all the way over. But I'll get this top tape laid back on the ground, and then we'll have to insulate that little connector there a little bit. Okay, got everything insulated up over here. Of course, I'm gonna have to get some more metal before I can actually build the duct cover, but we're done with duct work. Next step is, I guess, electrical thermostat and the gas line. So we'll get started on that, I guess. Okay, we got our whip run into the box and connected. And we got it hooked up on this end. Thermostat wires is right here. Need to want to route your wires away from this inducer because that's single wall metal and it's hot. So I always try to make sure nothing's getting close to it. When we get done, I'll probably put a wire tie on that batch of stuff. These are packaged inside the actual burner compartment here. Of course, this one goes right up here. That's your fresh air intake. And then this is my exhaust, which will go right here. However, and I don't know why they did it, but I can tell by looking at this when I'm going to have an issue. It hasn't been bent yet. They used to make a different width baffle for every different BTU of furnace. So the larger the BTUs, the bigger the hole they left right here. Well, they quit doing that, and what they instead started doing was just making the large baffle and bending it forward in order to make the gap bigger. But the problem is nobody on the assembly line is apparently doing that. So when we start this thing up, it's probably going to run for about, I don't know, 15 seconds and turn off, and it's going to go off on a vent problem. And basically, you don't have enough airflow through this thing to pull the pressure switch in. And what they tell you to do is bend this out until you get like a 0.68 or 0.69 inches of vacuum on the inducer right here at this little port. And of course I ain't gonna do that until I start it up, but I'll probably go ahead and stick this cover on for tonight, because what I'm going to have left is the gas line, which I'm going to have to probably just measure up and cut me some pieces, and then the duct cover, and I don't have any metal at the shop to finish it today, so I'll just do that tomorrow. But bottom line is we could start it up now on AC, except we don't need it. But I'll go ahead and just gonna button up a few of these things, and probably, I guess I might check airflow tonight, but probably not. I think I'll just button it up and go to the supply house in the morning and get me some metal. And I've got gas line at the shop. I'll just have to cut and thread it. So we'll carry back on this thing tomorrow. Went to the supply house first thing this morning and got a roll of metal. Actually got a couple of rolls, but I just can't say enough good things about this Hillmore cross brake, handheld cross brake. Anytime I have to make something wider than about 40 inches, that 48-inch brake is pretty much useless for cross brakes. But this thing, you can make them as long as you can go. Just put something soft underneath it, lay it on top, roll that across it. It makes nice, pretty cross brakes. And with the brake I don't have any good way to bend, you know, this side down and this side up without, you know, crimping something. So what I usually do is take my shortest side and bend it just a little bit so you get a good crease started on both ends, and then go ahead and turn around and bend your long pieces, you know, the way you want them. And then you can easily take a hand bender, and in this case a little block of wood, and bend this up, and it'll be nice and crisp because you have a line started already. And just like that, there's our top. Now we'll make a bottom and two sides, and we'll be ready to go put it on. Okay, getting this gas line ran. Basically just came out of the meter here. These old meters don't have any way to cut them off before the meter. A valve, the new loops have a built-in valve that we can pressure test against. In this case, it doesn't go in the house. I'm going to put it all together, turn the gas on, and bubble check it real careful before we paint it. Like I say, ideally we'd have some way to cut it off here. Even if we put a cap here and tested it ourselves, we would still have a fitting that hadn't been tested. The gas company has some line blocks they can put underneath this union that you could supposedly test against, but I don't have any of those. So what I've done so far is come down, tried to get it back over against the house so that we can attach it to the foundation rather than just have it hanging out in midair like the old one. Took an old scrap of unistrut, cut off a couple of pieces, bolted it to the foundation. A couple of straps here. These are supposed to be paintable, so I got some Rust-Oleum paint. I might just let the homeowner paint the whole thing here in a few minutes once we get it tested out. But you could run this with 1/2 inch based on the charts, because it's just going to this 175,000 BTU furnace. Our equivalent length is probably going to be less than 25 feet with all the fittings and everything. But I think you could probably go 75 feet or more with 1/2 inch. But this is a lot more rigid than 1/2 inch, and I had it, so we might as well use it. So what I'm going to do is put this last piece in out of 3/4, which will bring me over here close to the front of the furnace. I'll reduce it down. Got a reducer here somewhere. And then I'll take off 1/2 inch, put in a union valve, or maybe a valve and a union, and then a drip tee and into the unit. We'll get that plumbed up and take a look at it before we fire it up. Okay, once you get your main line run around there's, you know, fairly close to the unit, I always start working both ends against the middle. So I've jumped back over and came out of the gas valve, got outside of the unit, came down and put my T in for my drip leg, and now I'm going to put us a valve, and then there'll be another nipple and a union and a nipple, and that'll get us all tied in here. And then I'll probably, before I put in our drip leg, I'll bleed the gas out of it, and we'll put the drip leg in, turn it on, and let it sit here and spray everything down with bubbles. Okay, I got the gas line connected. I've bled it out. I've put bubbles everywhere, and I've sniffed around. I don't smell nothing. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it on. It's 64 in the house. I think I'm going to have to go ahead and finish today, since this is the morning of day 3, and well, it's actually afternoon already. And she's on to my ruse. She stayed home last night in the cold house. So I'm going to go ahead and get her some heat on. So we're going to turn it on here. Set on 68, that's probably where she keeps it. Now, we may wind up, it runs a little while and goes out if they have not adjusted that damper like we talked about. As long as it lights here. Waiting on the igniter. The flame looks pretty. We'll see how long it runs. If it runs, I'm still going to check it. We're going to check the actual vacuum on that pressure switch and see if it's 0.68 or not. We'll let it run here a minute and see what happens. Okay, she kicked off, so I stuck this manometer on there and it's reading 0.26. Again, the technical service bulletin says it's supposed to be 0.68 or something like that. The pressure switch itself is a 0.2, so don't take much wire and tire for that thing to start tripping out. Okay, there's that part number. They tell you, apparently they'll give you money for doing this. I've never got any, but you're supposed to take a picture of the actual part showing that part number. You're supposed to take a dimension, and then we're supposed to show the manometer, which we've got on video. But basically what you're trying to do is bend this guy out to make it a little wider, like I did right there, which may be a little too much, but we'll find out. And what we'll do, we'll turn it on again, check the manometer, and try to get that up to 0.6 whatever. Okay, I got it what, to 0.43 that time. Oh. 0.47. 5.5. 0.67. I'm going to look at the paper and see what it wanted. I think it's around 0.68 is what it wants. Okay, here on my phone I've got the service bulletin. Basically it says for the restrictor plate size 1171967, take a picture with tape measure across it. Water column on the pressure switch port is about minus 0.22. What was mine? 0.2728 with the flue cover off 0.24. So mine was up there. I had the cover off at that point. Adjust pressure switch water column to 0.62, so I went too far. I mean to bend it back a little bit. The draft amp motor draw after a unit is put back together is 0.42 amps. Temperature rise 58 degrees. So basically they're wanting 0.62 water column rather than the 0.2½ that we had. So I'll go back over and adjust it to 0.62. I had to get over here in the shade so she could see my phone with her camera. But we'll get that adjusted and it'll be ready to go for winter. My meter, that particular meter don't go out to 2 decimal places, but it's 0.4 amps. So I'm going to call that good. I'm going to go build a duct cover and we'll be finished. Didn't think I was going to let you go without checking our total static pressure on our ductwork, did you? We're 0.65 total. That's because most of it's there in that return. I'm going to go inside and take the filter, and it's only got a 16 by 25 grill. That's one reason we're going to be changing that. But I'm going to pull it out and just see what kind of difference that makes. Right now we're about 0.47, 0.48 on it. That made a world of difference. You could hear that grill singing when I went in. The filter's clean, but it's just the grill's too small for this much airflow. So we wind up with about 0.5 static total, which is what we want. Again, I'll stick that bigger return in as quick as I get caught up. But in the meantime, that ECM motor will take care of it for us. Okay, she's warmed it up to 68 in there. It'll probably turn off any minute, but what we're going to do is flip it over to cool. And we'll turn it down to 66 maybe. And we'll get the AC on and check the charge on it. I had one of these that the compressor went out after a couple of years, and I went and put the new compressor in it, pulled a good vacuum, put the dryer on it, started charging it up, and I always stop a pound or two before, you know, whatever the table says, and I barely had to put any more in it. The rating, the label on the thing was probably 1.5 pounds more than what it really needed. So I think that's what killed the compressor. It washed the bearing out. So I want to check this one, make sure it's not, you know, getting any liquid back to it. The only kind of chart this thing has is the superheat on the discharge line of the compressor, which they've got a port on. And I'd say we're supposed to be between 269 and 289 based on the outdoor ambient of 73 right now. So we're at 280. Let's say 289 and one's 269. Okay, so we're probably good there. It's a 25 degree superheat since it's minus. They say 31. So maybe just a little overcharged. We got a 5.5 on the real superheat on the actual suction line here. So it's not washing back. That means there is vapor in that line. But hopefully the TXV will handle it from there. Another thing to look for, probably on all units today, depending on who's putting them together. I had one that actually had a little leak in it pretty quick after commissioning it. And I went out and found a little oil laying down here and got to looking, and it was leaking around this nut. I put about 2 turns on it. That's how loose it was from the factory. So I've been checking them on every unit now. So I'm gonna let it run a little longer, but like I say, at least I know it's not killing the compressor as long as it's got some superheat. When you're meeting up against the house, especially when you've got a, you know, offset and all this kind of stuff, it's almost impossible, at least what I found, to make it look real good if you have to do a bunch of notching. So what I usually do is bend some L-shaped pieces, and you can get a look over there at them, and screw them to the house. And then I hem this piece to where it's got a nice finished edge on the outside. And like I say, we caulk all this when we're done, but that's about the tightest that I've found that I can get it, because none of these old houses are ever exactly right. So I'm about to get this side screwed. The bottom's already here, and we'll be popping over to that side to do exactly the same thing, and then we'll lay the top on last and screw it down. I put it on here and got me a couple of holes started so I can always get it back in the exact same spot. Enough for that one. Right, we got the 2 sides done. We've got a bottom in it. Getting ready to lay the top on. I use these little sealing punch tools like you use to put in suspended ceilings. And it works really nice to get you a hole started, especially when you're having to maybe go in at an angle or something with your drill. It keeps it from walking on you. So it just takes a second to punch out a hole. Of course, on these things you got to watch out where you put screws on the back, because there's a coil right up against the back there. So I measured off and skipped the middle. So we're going to lay this top on here and put some screws in it, and then a little bit of caulk, and we'll be DUN done. Okay, got the homeowner here painting the gas line. We got the trap and little kick down off the edge of the pad. I usually don't glue it right here so that you can get it apart to wash it out. I mean, you see if it did drip there, nobody cares. And it's easy to clean that way. So she'll finish getting that done, and it'll be a wrap. Put in for the inspection. They'll probably come Wednesday, and it'll all be good till something breaks.
Pizza time.
Inspector's leaving. We passed. So there we have it. A 2.5 ton package unit, gas, straight AC. No way for possums to get under the house now. Well, at least not over here, maybe somewhere else. Thanks for watching.